Here's the deal. My friends at Brazen have spent the last year writing the book on recruiting chatbots. It's jam-packed with tons of the best practices and examples of companies who are successfully using chatbots to hire the best talent. We're talking companies like Walgreens, USAA, and Presidio. And because you're a listener of my show, they want to send you a free copy of the book. Just head over to brazen.com/chatbots to get a free copy today. You can get a copy sent to your door for postage, or you can download the digital version right now. Don't wait, because the book is flying off the shelves. And as a bonus, if you sign up today, they'll send you their #1 downloaded ebook on winning the war for talent. Again, go to brazen.com/chatbots to get all this for free today. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce Kevin Grossman, who's the president of the Talent Board. He has some information he'd like to share with you.
Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate being here.
And this October, you guys have a big event.
We do. So on October 14th in Washington, D.C. at the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel, we are running our Candy Symposium and Awards Gala. Every year we do research with hundreds of companies around the world and capture hundreds of thousands of candidate responses to our survey research about their candidate experience from pre-application to onboarding. And then those companies who have the highest positive candidate ratings, we celebrate them throughout the day, and into the evening, we have great speakers and sessions, and then awards dinner that evening. So that's what's happening on October 14th.
What time does it start?
It starts at 9 a.m. and goes until 10 p.m.
So it's this October 14th at the Wardman Hotel. The report that you guys generate afterwards, how can folks get that?
So they can go to our site at thetalentboard.org, and everything's available free to download.
And how can I register to come to the event on the 14th?
You go to thetalentboard.org is probably the easiest way. And if you use the code CE19VIP, you can get $50 off our registration for a total of $395 to come for the day.
Welcome back to another episode of The Lauren Epstein Show. I am your host, Lauren Epstein. We are here at the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference, which has been a fantastic event here in Philadelphia, where for the 3 days there were classes, tons of amazing speakers. I mean, people who are really practicing social recruiting and recruiting in general, analytics, all sorts of great things, storytelling. And right now we're going to talk to a fantastic guest on how to create an effective employment brand. So with me today, and thank you for coming, is Alyssa Gioscia. She is the Senior Client Success Manager for CareerArc and has, for the last 10 years plus, been doing strategic marketing and social media. She's worked with organizations across a wide range of industries, including hospitality and healthcare, retail, engineering. She is most passionate about developing high-impact social strategies and creative solutions to really impact employment brand for her clients. And she leads CareerArc's client-only webinar series.
I do.
Which is kind of cool.
Yep, it's a lot of fun.
So welcome to the show, Alyssa.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm happy to be here.
So you just finished your presentation.
Yes.
And so for the folks who aren't here, what did you talk about?
So I talked a little bit about automation in the social recruitment process, because there's a point where automation is helpful and it can save time and money, but we want to make sure that there's a balance so that we don't over-automate and then we lose that human element. So that was the first part, and then we also talked about employment brand, how you can build it, how you can spread the word, because it doesn't matter how automated you are, if people aren't applying for your jobs, it's not very helpful. So we really want to create a great story around the brand.
So you're really dealing with kind of the top of the funnel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do we get more of the right people in and deal with them or handle them in a way that makes them feel good about coming further down the funnel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we're looking at making the HR funnel more like the sales funnel, where it's automated at the top so that you're sending out job posts, so that you're sending out custom content, you're building the brand and creating familiarity that you can get them in and start interacting with your brand. And then once you've done that, you have the opportunity to send them information about your brand and talk to them in person. So you can use that to let them know about your brand and create all the different touch points that you need and talk to them when the time is right.
So I've asked other people this, and I'm going to ask you. In the recruiter's day, what percentage of what they do would you say is is administrative back-end offers versus them actually talking to people and doing the recruiting work that they're getting paid for?
Well, we don't actually work with the recruiters directly. So most of our clients are the talent director levels, and they're trying to make the process easier for their recruitments. So from a percentage standpoint, I'm not entirely sure, but I will say that something like CareerArc makes it helpful for recruiters because they can take time off their plate with some of those more automated processes. So we can help with content distribution, we can help with job distribution, and take those things out of the mix for them so that less time is spent on all of that administrative work and more time spent with actual candidates.
So when you look at a task, right, because there's 100 tasks that a recruiter does, how do you know which ones to automate?
What we like to look at is to automate where a human doesn't really need to exist. So maybe that's with a scheduling tool so that you don't have to go back and forth with 5 different emails. You can just send a link and say, hey, pick the time that works best for you and I'll talk to you then. You can automate your employment brand content as well. So once a candidate has come into your talent network, a recruiter doesn't need to be sending them information about A, B, C, D. They can simply automate the process. So let's say it's information about what the candidate can do to make their job interview better. They can just send that out automated. So
or benefits.
Exactly. Benefits are a big one.
Right.
And you can start to talk about your brand and your company story, but once you get them into the process, then the recruiter can really sell it. So you're basically setting the stage for the recruiter to come in and sort of close the deal.
So what's the mission of CareerArc? What is it you guys are trying to do?
Well, our goal is we are social recruiting software, so we exist in the social recruiting space, and we're here to help companies create an employment brand, support their employment brand, and be able to utilize automation to do that. So we have a couple of different pieces. One is we automate the job posts so that clients can put those out into the world without having to think about every single day how many they're doing and across which channels. We also have a tool called Engage, and that really lets you build out all of your custom content, which is key when you're talking about employment brand, because we don't want to create a lot of noise. We want you to really be able to talk about who your brand is, tell your story, engage people, and let them know it's a fun place to work, it's an interesting place to work, see yourself working here. And then we have another piece called Candidate Care, which is something that we're really excited about because that lets us follow up with anyone who's been a declined candidate. So just because you didn't get the job doesn't mean we want to forget about you. We want to still feed that relationship because we never know when we might see you again. So we try to really follow the arc of the candidate, the full candidate flow from beginning to end to let our clients support that whole process.
And do you look to companies like e-commerce companies and companies that sell goods to people to mirror some of the experiences you want to give to candidates?
Yes, because the candidate experience definitely, in candidates' mind, mirrors what they're going to get as when they're working there. So if I have a negative recruitment experience, I may not be as excited to come work with you because is that going to be an indication of what it's going to be like at the company later? We're also seeing this really big hand in glove sort of idea between consumer brand and employment brand. So they really are side by side now. And we have to make sure that both are being well cared for, which in the past, it's been pretty much only consumer focused. And employment brand is having such a big impact that now companies are starting to see, yeah, we need to look at that too.
Yeah, it's funny because there's been Glassdoor for years,
yes,
but it's not verified. So, you'll see all sorts of things. And I think, not to ding Glassdoor, but you can tell when someone's written something and it's not real.
Yes.
But it's hard to know about the stars because they just kind of calculate up all the stars. It'd be great if companies could do something like the verified purchase that has on some e-commerce sites where, hey, this person actually worked here and here is their, experience, but yet giving them some sense of anonymity so that, they don't feel like they're exposed to their employer,
right.
They say.
Right. And I think they're starting to go that route. If you have like a premium page, you can verify that they're a current employee or a past employee. But unfortunately, it's sort of the Wild West when it comes to Glassdoor. So what I always encourage my clients to do, or what anyone can do really, is just keep an eye on what those comments are. Because one thing I've noticed, if you have 20 positive comments and a bad one, most people, whether it's Yelp or Glassdoor, they're looking at what the majority of people are saying. But if you respond to that negative comment, you can actually improve your perception because people say, oh, well, even though that person had a bad experience and everybody else was good, they didn't ignore it. They took the time to make sure that that person was heard and see what they can do to turn the situation around.
Yeah, and what do you think about like the kind of response? Because I've seen responses that seem kind of canned, written by the lawyer of the company.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
It's best if it's from someone who's really doing a personalized approach. Like, oh, I worked there and that's actually not been my experience. Can you tell me a little bit more? Or I'd love to talk to you further about this if you don't mind me messaging you.
Sure.
So if you can personalize it, I like when I see messages from a CEO, like somebody at the top who's actually taken the time, and definitely something that's personal and not just a copy and paste. Not really helpful.
Yeah, and when they're actually addressing the question. Like, yes, oh
Correct.
yeah, we've heard this before. This is something that we're...
Correct.
I mean, like, no company is perfect.
No.
Every company has problems. As we know with companies like, Google and Facebook, we hear about employees who are dissatisfied for a variety of very public reasons.
Yeah.
And what are you noticing from the candidates that use your tools? What's been their experience? Do you get any feedback or collect a sense of how they feel about it?
We don't get as much of the feedback from using our tools, except for with candidate care. But what we can see, of course, are people who are viewing jobs through the types of posts that you can do through CareerArc. So if it's automated job distribution, we can tell you, hey, since taking this live, you've had 1,000 people view your jobs, which is great. So now you have people who are seeing your jobs. If it's the engage post, you can look at your social comments, you can look at the people clicking links or interacting with the content in a variety of ways, so that's always helpful. And then with the candidate care platform, we actually do ask candidates to say, hey, what do you think about this? And we track that, and we've only seen positive reviews. People who are saying, hey, they said no to me about this job, but they're still offering me this great tool that can help me in my job search. That's pretty cool. Or this helped me find my job faster. Or I haven't even finished the process, and I already have this tool to help me. So we try to collect as much of that as we can because it's really exciting to see candidates engaging and really appreciating it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how to create an effective employment brand, and with me is Alyssa Gioscia. And so if I was most companies 300-400 person, maybe there's a recruiter, maybe there's not. What are some of the first things I do to figure out how do I create an effective employment brand?
Well, there's a couple of places that you want to start. The first thing is most people at least have their culture, their values, their mission statement. So you can take a look at that and use it to sort of backfill the types of people you're looking for. So how do we adjust our messaging so that we can find people who have similar values? That's a big thing to do. Employee advocacy is huge because if your employees are talking about your brand.
So wait, just stopping there for a second, 'cause that's really cool. I like that. Would you ask your employees, here are our values, what are your values, and see if there's alignment?
Yes, brand audit is another great way to do
Right.
that. So ask your employees what they like and also see just what the marketplace is saying, because if you find some positive reviews out there, you know what people like about you, you can talk about that. You can also talk about your benefits, anything really that makes you stand out from the crowd, because right now you're basically dealing with mostly passive candidates. So you need to say, hey, I know you like it where you are, but we have all of that plus these one or two things that are important to you. Maybe it's community outreach or a certain type of growth plan that you have that they don't have where they are. So it's really those small things right now that are making a big impact.
And it's what I'm hearing you say is that those things that you offer should all be aligned behind your fundamental values.
Yes, because if you say that you do sustainability and then you have 3 or 4 things happening in your company that are not sustainable, it's not in alignment. So we want to make sure that they are.
Do you think that this kind of approach to setting up a business is making businesses better?
I think so, because you have to be really aware of how you're treating everybody, not just making sure that your consumer-facing brand looks good. And you can see a decline in the types of quality candidates you can get from a poor consumer brand, and you can actually see your consumer brand suffer 64% or more from their bottom line from employees who have a bad candidate experience. So they really are touching one another quite significantly now. So everyone kind of has to up their game.
So I've done my brand audit. I've looked at those things. What would be the next thing?
So you've done your brand audit. You know what you want to talk about. You've got your vision and your mission statement down. Employee advocacy is another great way to support that.
What does that mean?
Well, your employees are probably already talking about your brand. They work there. Hopefully they like it. So you can ask them to help spread the word by sharing content with them that they can share, and just by generally having them engage on social media. It allows candidates to see what it's like to really work there, and it gives them a sense of who their teammates would be. Also, one of the top sources of referrals is your current employees, because they can actually vet candidates, and usually like-minded people kind of hang around together. So it's like, hey, I love it here, come work with me. So you see higher retention rates, you'll see higher just quality of candidates as well.
Cool. I like that approach. And so what would be the next thing?
Next up is promoting your learning and development, because again, if you have candidates who are like, this company seems fine, but it looks like there's kind of a cap here, but this company has a lot of room for growth. I want to go here so I have room to grow. I said this in my talk. It's really funny that in 2018, the number one reason why people left their job was because they were bored, which I think is the most boring reason. Like, if you have the opportunity to train them and teach them more, it's a win-win, and it helps your retention. So keep them interested and engaged, and they'll stay with you.
You know, one of the things that IBM does, I had the head of talent acquisition of IBM on the show, and he said that they go into their employee base and they see who has what skills. And they know that somebody who's a financial analyst has like 70% of what it takes to be a blockchain developer.
Oh.
So they'll reach out to that person, and that's the way they.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, because when you feel like you've reached your cap, you get bored, and even if you like the company and the culture is great, it's not enough to keep you there. So the more you can do to find out what people are interested in, where they might like to go, and do those internal promotions, it really shows everybody else on the team that you're valued too, which helps with just overall camaraderie. And yeah, I love that idea.
I think the thing that we've never really, well, I don't hear much about is that, recruiting is a team sport.
Yeah.
That the recruiter only does a certain amount of what a recruiting is whether it's 40 or 50%. And then everyone else does everything else. Like you're saying, your fellow employees, they are doing more recruiting than the recruiter's doing, because physically they just touch more people.
Right.
And the messaging and what the CEO is saying, and often people will go online and look on LinkedIn or YouTube and see videos of people who work at the company or customers, and they're not always aligned.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And so that's really why it's helpful if, as a company, bandwidth sometimes can get in the way, but if the company can also provide information, because as a recruiter, I might not know exactly what to say, or I might not know everything that's going on. Like, oh, we just won an award, or oh, this blog or this news article was written about us. So provide your team with that information so that they can share it, because it helps get them excited about the company, and it gives them things to talk about, so that when people are visiting their pages or they're doing that reach out, they have the conversation, they have the story.
Right, and even with the entire employee base, right? So here's the talking points about the company this week.
Exactly.
Or this month.
Exactly. A lot of companies will even have a hashtag that they use, hashtag life at CareerArc, for example. So anytime we're doing an event or something like this, we can use that hashtag. Or maybe we're just doing, our company has a basketball team and they have the game, and so we'll post a picture of the team in their shirts, like life at CareerArc, it's really fun to work here. Because then people start to follow that. And I actually found my job at CareerArc through a friend posting on Facebook. And I was like, what? I don't know what this company is or what you do, but it just sounds fun, so I want to know more. And that caught my attention. And it's an easy way to bring people into the fold and help them learn more about you.
And what's the culture like at CareerArc?
It's actually really fun. We have a great culture. There's a lot of room for growth. We're all very familial, which is nice. We've actually grown quite a bit this year, and everyone just kind of folds right into the mix. One of my best friends actually works there with this, which is fun. So
someone who was a best friend before.
Yep.
Nice.
Yes. So I said, you know what? We have this position. I think you'd be really great for it. And it's nice, too, because she didn't have to just send her resume into the black hole. She had a person to talk to. I could explain some of it to her. So it changes the recruitment process when you have somebody you can actually talk to and ask questions.
Totally. I find often, and I think it's kind of like a chef going into another restaurant. When I go looking for a job, which I haven't done for a bit, but I find that most recruiting processes are horrible. And even at places I've gotten jobs, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And then when I start, I'm already starting like on the wrong foot, because it was so painful.
Right.
Either painfully long or a little too adversarial. I kind of know what's going on, or at least I have a sense, but they're not being transparent. And I've had some really great experiences. I mean, I once went to an interview for a guy who hired me on the spot.
Oh.
He's like, so, hey, you want to work here? I'm like, yeah, but I got another interview. He's like, well, what would I need to do to get you to start now? I said, well, just make me an offer. That's like a great way to start.
Yep.
Like literally the foot that you start on totally sets the tone of the relationship.
One thing that CareerArc does is we actually do multiple interviews, and I don't know if everyone does this. I don't know kind of what the uptake is on this, but if you come to work at our company, for any team, you're probably interviewing with 3 to 5 people, and I think this is becoming more of the norm now. But that way, it's better for the candidate and for the company, because you really find people who are a good fit and whose personality and value system matches with the company. So it's very easy for them to just slip right in.
Yeah.
And it does start them off on a right foot. They get to know a lot of people. They have faces they recognize when they're starting. They're not just like, okay, I got hired by this one recruiter. I have no idea who I'm working with or what this place is about.
Right.
We'll walk them around the office, talk a little bit about what each team does. So it really helps. And I think that's key.
Yeah, and conversely, the employees that work there know who is going to get hired. They know who they are, what they're going to be doing.
Exactly.
I was recruiting for Bell Atlantic, which was prior to Verizon.
Okay.
An old.
Bryanson was my clients.
There you go. So, I mean, we were hiring a ton of people, and I hired somebody. They came on a Monday. They sat there, and like Wednesday, I came by their desk, and like, yeah, I've just been sitting here. No one's really said anything to me.
Dear. You're like, wait a minute.
Just sitting there for 3 days, going to work and not doing anything.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not really an onboarding.
No, that's not an onboarding experience.
And like everyone says, in a lot of, in not all fields, but in a lot of fields, talent has the choice to go where they want to go. Mm-hmm. I think that's also kind of changing, right? We have a lot of people who still are like, I'm just trying to get by with the job that I've got. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, so we talk about an employee brand. There are a lot of jobs that people are just doing because they got to do a job. What companies should really be thinking about an employee brand?
Which companies?
What kind of companies? Like, should all companies be thinking about an employee brand?
Yes, but anybody who has a transient workforce really has to think about it. So if you're hiring a lot of hourly workers or part-time workers or someone in construction where it's just a hard job to do, you really want to make sure that everything else about your company makes people want to work there and stay there. So if you're talking about special perks that you have, benefits, if you're doing a lot of employee recognition and really making sure that, hey, if you work for us, yes, it's a hard job, because it's retail and you're dealing with crazy customers or whatever it might be, but this is how we support you, this is how we have your back, and these are all the benefits. It makes it easier to retain people. The employment brand can actually reduce retention rates quite a bit, almost 30%. So
really?
It has a big impact.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've never seen an ad. I've seen a lot of ads for fast food companies, but I've never seen an employment brand commercial like for one of the fast food chains.
Yeah.
Like, here's what it's like to work here. I mean, they're spending billions of dollars on advertising. Why isn't there a commercial on, you want to work at this fast food chain?
This is what we have.
It's what it's like.
Yeah. You will see that on social media. Still, for a lot of brands, especially commercials, that's still just only driving their consumer brand. But what we're starting to see is either the consumer brand is allowing some employment brand into the mix, so you'll see 3 or 4 posts about the brand, and then you'll see an employee testimonial video, and then a couple more posts. Or you'll even see a lot of companies now have 2 Facebook pages, one specifically for the brand, for consumer facing, and one for employment brand. So they have something that's candidate facing and can talk about all of those fun things, but they're not necessarily interrupting. So both will kind of work in tandem.
Gotcha. So anything else that someone can do as far as creating a really good employment brand? They're either on no budget or low budget, which seems like a lot of companies.
A lot of companies. You definitely want to spread the word. So don't be afraid to use your cell phone for things, whether it's creating some employee testimonial videos, taking pictures. The less stock style things we have, the better, because you really want to show what that is. And photos can really grab people's attention quickly. That's why you see so many things that are cute, pets and babies and things like that, because you really want to grab people and talk about your brand. But people are afraid because they don't have a big budget. Use your phone. You can create really great videos even with your phone now and talk about who you are, so getting that messaging out is important. And then just being out there is part of the conversation. Because some companies are still afraid of social because they think, if we're out there, we'll get negative comments. That's not being out there doesn't stop that from happening. So, don't worry about that. But garner all those positive comments that you can and use that to help push your brand out.
It's funny. I worked at a company where we had set up an employment page. This was years ago. And they, before I was there, and they used a stock picture of people. And I remember looking at another website using the exact same style, and I'm like, we have people.
Yes.
And we have a certain kind of people, because most of the people that worked there were Asian. Why don't we just take a picture of those folks and use them on our site?
Yeah, exactly.
There's still people.
I know. There's still a lot of stuff. Plus, you want to show your diversity. You want to show your inclusion. You want to show that you can, hey, do you envision yourself here? Yeah, because there you are in the picture, right? There's another young man or another young woman doing what you're doing, especially. Yeah.
And if you go for the interview, hey, I saw you on
I saw you, yeah. So it just creates more personalization. Plus, if you do employee recognition, take a picture of that, because if somebody's working someplace and they just feel like, does anybody know I exist here? And your company does really great employee recognition, I want to go there. I want somebody to notice me. I've been here 5 years or 8 years.
Right.
So anything that shows who you are is so much more helpful.
Wow. And so how can folks reach out to you and reach out to CareerArc?
Oh, you can go onto our website, or you can, of course, email me. My email address is Gioscia, so AGIOSCIA @CareerArc.com, or you can reach out on our website and let them know that you heard the conversation on the Lauren Epstein Show, and we'll follow up with you.
Alyssa, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I thought the tips were very helpful.
Great.
And congratulations, you got your presentation out. Is your presentation going to be available to folks?
Yes, it's available through SRSC. They have a presentation link with a hashtag, so you can download all of the information there.
Great, thank you. So that's Alyssa Gioscia.
Yes.
And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
This is Lauren Epstein. You've been listening to The Lauren Epstein Show. We're here at the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference in Philly, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hi, this is Lauren Epstein with The Lauren Epstein Show, and I'm sitting here with Cara Mignelli, who is the leader of the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference and the eBrand Cons, and they've got some exciting news. They're having Talent Acquisition Week in January of 2020. Can you tell us about that, Cara?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lauren. We're really thrilled about 2020, which sounded really far off when I was a kid, but thrilled to be planning for 2020. And so our vision is to take a step into the future of talent acquisition. And we're really thrilled to be hosting our flagship event, SRSC, which is the Social Recruiting Strategies Conference, as well as eBrandCon, along with a new event, Talent Sourcing Strategies Summit. We'll be hosting those 3 separate events together at the same venue in San Francisco this coming January 28th through the 30th. And we're providing an opportunity for people to be collaborative and learn new things. If you buy a ticket to any of our 3 events, we're going to allow people to go from one event to another. So the agenda doesn't overlap, except for we have some great opening keynotes, and we have a shared expo floor, and we're planning fun networking events as well.
This is exciting. I could see companies sending their entire teams of recruiting folks to learn and then network. What a great opportunity. And how can folks register now?
They can visit talentacquisitionweek.com and sign up for more information. Registration will open and the full agenda will be published.
Fantastic. Well, we're really looking forward to it. Go to talentacquisitionweek.com and sign up now.
Thanks, Lauren.
If you want to sell more to HR and TA professionals, we can help you bring your brand into the ears of over 100,000 decision makers around the world. To advertise on this and other shows, contact us at lauren@laurenepstein.com.